Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Paula McCain. I'm one of the senior business advisors here at the North Central Texas SBDC, which stands for Small Business Development Center. Just want to let you know today is National Roast Chestnuts Day. I've never had them, but I heard that they're pretty good. So, um, the SBDC is a leading provider of assistance for small businesses, and we are grant funded. And because of that, we can provide our services to you at no cost. An example of one of our services is this webinar, and it's coming to you all at no cost. This session is being recorded and will be posted to our YouTube channel. Today's webinar is customizing forms in QuickBooks Online. I've been looking forward to this one too. Please, if you have any questions, put them in the chat box, and we will be checking on those periodically throughout the entire presentation. Let me introduce Stacy Kildal. Stacy is internationally recognized expert in QuickBooks Online and owner of Kildal Services, LLC. Stacy was the first QuickBooks Pro Advisor to complete the QBO certification exam, as well as Intuit's payroll certification exam, and is also certified as an advanced QuickBooks Pro Advisor on both the desktop and the online editions. She is a certified Enterprise Solutions Pro Advisor and certified QuickBooks user. She's a pretty good expert on QuickBooks, is what I'm gathering. Stacy, thank you for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the intro. I do know a lot about QuickBooks. It's about the only thing I know a lot about. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I just want to say thank you for having me here. As always, I just love working with you guys. We're going to be talking about customizing forms in QuickBooks Online. I just want to take a minute and do my hype. I've got to be the hype man for you guys, right? And the SBDCs are amazing resources for small businesses, whether you're just starting or you're established. There's tons and tons of resources that they have. So check them out. You can see here there's a link to their website. You probably already know about the website because you're here watching this and you found the video. So call and make an appointment right now. One of the first things I started doing when I started my business was doing classes for the local SBDC here in Michigan, and they are one of my favorite groups to work with. So I just can't thank you guys enough. You guys know who I am. I'm Stacy. I've been using QuickBooks since about 1998, and I've been a trainer for Intuit since 2005, so really long time. So when we're talking about customizing forms in QuickBooks Online, one of the things I always bring up is when I do bookkeeping. I have about 50 clients, and sometimes I manage their payables, and so they will forward me invoices from, or what we refer to when we enter it into QuickBooks is a vendor bill from some of their vendors. And what's really great is I can always tell when someone is using QuickBooks because there is a very distinct look, whether it is desktop or QuickBooks Online, to a default QuickBooks Online invoice. And you can tell. And it's not a bad thing. I mean, they look great, but you can do so much fun stuff and make them really look the way that you want and really impart to the recipients a little bit about your brand and a little bit about your company. So there, you can change color, you can change the style a little bit, you can include or items like that are relevant to your business, and you can change the form name to suit your customers or business as well. So one of the things that we will do for nonprofits is, instead of a sales receipt, we will call it a donor receipt or a donation receipt. If instead of an invoice for nonprofits, we may change the title to a pledge. So you can kind of change the name if you need to. Another thing that they will do is they will maybe change the name of an estimate to, you know, a sales order or something like that. So you can really customize all of this stuff to what you want it to look like. There are 3 customer-facing forms. These are the ones that can be customized. You can't customize a purchase order that you send to a vendor. I will show you what that looks like, but it's pretty generic. But you can customize those estimates, those invoices, and those sales receipts, the things that really are important when we're trying to get across our brand and what our companies are about to the customers or the clients that we're working with. So there's 6 different templates. And again, I'm going to go through all the slides and then I'm going to spend a lot of time demoing. I'm going to spend as much time as I can demoing because customizing forms, especially back when I used desktop a lot, I spend probably way too much time tweaking these, and it's not time that like my clients want to pay me for. So which is fine. But whenever I get a new client, one of the things that I do for them is I will ask for their logo, and I will kind of tweak, and it's just a little delighter that I do for clients, and I'll set up their templates, and say, how do you like this? Is there anything you want me to change? So you can add your logo. You can set some color options. One of the things that I really love about the customizing templates in QBO is when you upload your logo, QBO will automatically change the color scheme and it pulls from the colors that are in your logo. So that's actually a really cool, like just a really cool thing that that QBO will do. There's a couple fonts, so the fonts are not super dynamic. We have a few choices, and then you can set your margins. You can choose the customer-facing name, phone number, email address. On my invoices, I prefer not to put the phone number on mine because I want my clients to email me, or I rather than call me. And most of them know that. They know that I would prefer an email versus a phone call, unless it's a scheduled phone call. You can choose whether or not you want to put in your mailing address or your website. And then you can change the name if you want. Like I mentioned, we will change invoice to donor pledge or pledge for nonprofits, and sales receipt sometimes to donation receipt or charitable receipt or something like that. And then you can change other display fields as well. There's going to be 2 ways that you can access editing these forms. The first one on the left-hand side is that gear icon. If you happen to see kind of the setting up the QuickBooks, the QBO session, one of the things that I mentioned is that gear icon. That's where you're always going to go to tell QBO how you want it to work for you. Whereas over on the left nav, that's where you're going to enter those transactions. So to get to the customized form screen, we want to hit that gear icon and then go over to custom form styles. And that's going to take you to a list. And I'm going to show all of this to you. And then the other way that you can do this is if you open up one of those forms, estimate, invoice, sales receipt, and you go all the way to the bottom, you'll see the customize button and you can click on that and you can change. So you can have multiple templates, you can have multiple, you know, styles, and then you can choose which one you want to use. I have a client here in Michigan and she does, they're a bakery, and for almost 90 years they were a walk-in bakery, and over the last few years they're shifting over to more of a manufacturer, so they're selling on Amazon, they're selling at some of the local stores, and so they have a different invoice that they use for some of the local markets around here versus say we have a large grocery store chain called Meijer. If you're from Michigan, you add an S to it, which we do for everything. So it's Ford's and it's Meijer's, even though it's really just Ford and Meijer. And so she sells to Meijer, I can't say, I'm sorry, I can't say it without the S. And so they have different requirements as to what they need on that invoice. So we've tweaked that template just a little bit versus what she sends to some of the local markets. So, and you can, depending on what client or what customer she's using, she can customize that. But you can also go in from that customized screen on the template or on the actual form, and you can customize and edit the one that you're currently using. So those are the two ways that you can do that. When you get to that custom form styles from the gear icon, you're going to see there's going to be there, I think it's just one in there that's just like default. It's called standard. You can see it at the bottom. This screenshot, we have a bunch that we've created. But you would click new style, and then you're just going to choose what form you want to use for or create an invoice, an estimate, or a sales receipt. And then we're going to go through and customize it. So the first tab is going to be design. I'll walk through all of this with you. The second one is going to be content. So the design is going to be like, how do you want it to look? What colors do you want? Let's put your logo, that kind of thing. And then the next one, the content section, this is what's the information that you want to show up. And there's going to be three sections. There's a header, there's the body of it, and then there is the footer in there. And then the second one is emails, and that's how do you want the emails that are sent out to look. One of the first things that I'm going to do is I'm going to just find a logo maker. I'm going to create a logo really quick because I don't have one, right? I just want to do right here, like we'll just do Canva, right? Start design. I'm just going to make one up, right? I'm just going to make it up really quickly. This is how easy it is to make a logo. So this is a little free chili that we're going to do if this ever finishes loading. Maybe. There we go. So I'm just going to make a super quick logo, and let's make it a Christmas logo. How about this? Let's say, I like purple. So let's make this our logo. Easy. We are now the Christmas gift market, right? Super, super easy. I just want to share this. I want to download this, and I want it to be a transparent background. Oh, no, can't. And I'm just going to download. Oh, it contains premium. Oh, sorry. Premium content. Sorry. Does this have premium content? Let's try and download that. There we go. All righty. So I have this logo. I'm going to go over here to QuickBooks. I'm going to log in, right? And let me get to my desktop here. Downloads. There. Okay. So I'm going to sign in. Maybe not. Maybe QuickBooks doesn't want me to work to do any work today. Who knows? Okay, there we go. All right, and we're gonna choose, we're gonna go with, we'll do P's and B's. I know there's already a logo up here, but we're gonna change this because it's holiday season. And so you can see I already have a logo. This is one thing that I want to show you, right? Is when I logged in, I've already uploaded a logo. One of the cool things is if I click on the company name here, this is going to take me to my accountant settings. But if I click on this, what this is doing, it's taking me right to my accountant settings where I can upload a logo. This is one place where I can upload this logo. The other place that I can do it is if I customize my forms. So the other way that I get to my accountant settings is if I go gear icon, account, and settings. So clicking on the name or the logo is just a little shortcut to get right here. It saves you one click and gets you to this option. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes. So the two ways that we can get to customizing forms: gear icon, custom form style. And so you can see we have two of these. I can choose if I want. I can say I want to preview this. I do not want to do that. What I want to do is download this. I want to delete that style. So we're going to start from scratch. You're always going to have this standard one. With this standard one, you're not able to delete it. You can go in and edit it because you always have to have some kind of template. If I wanted, I could say, I could preview this, but I can't even duplicate this. You can see all the options other than preview are gone. I can go in and edit. So this is just my standard one. We're going to leave this, right? So I've got my P's and B's, right? So this is, I can change my logo here as well. If I wanted, I could add another logo, and I'm going to do that shortly when we create a new one. But you can see I can add the logo in 2 different places, my account and settings and also here. So this design, I can tell QuickBooks Online whether I not want it to be small, medium, or large. I want it to be as big as possible because I want people to know that I sell P's and I sell B's. And then I can choose where I want this. Do I want this in the middle? Do I want this over on the left? I'm going to keep it over on the right. The other thing that you can do is you can hide the logo. You can also click on this change up the template, and this is where you get those 6 styles that we talked about. So this is airy new, there's classic, there's modern, there is fresh, bold, and friendly. I like, we're gonna stick with fresh. So the other thing that I want to do is I can try some colors. So because this is a demo account, and I'm sure at some point we have demo changing these colors, what's happened is somebody has changed this. It probably was a greenish tint when we uploaded that logo, but because we use this demo, somebody's changed it to blue. So I'm just going to change it. I want this to represent my brand a little bit more. So because I sell P's and B's, I want this to be green. So I'm going to go ahead and change that. If you have the code, I don't know, like whatever the color code is, you can copy and paste it and put it in here if you want, or you can pick from some of the canned ones if you want. So we'll go ahead and leave that. And then we can change a different font. So right now we've got the Helvetica. I can go Unicode, and then I can, change it and make it a little bit bigger. So not a lot of tweaking when it comes to the fonts. You have 4 options and then 3 different sizes. So we'll just leave that as 12. And then at any point during the process, if you want to see how this looks, because I have to tell you, I don't know when the last time I actually physically printed anything out and mailed it. I want to see what is this going to look like when it gets saved as a PDF. And so for this looks great to me. I think this looks fantastic. I can go ahead and I'm going to close this. I have to move my little screen here, so I'm going to close that. And so this looks good. I'm pretty happy with this. If I need to leave it, and then I'm going to go with content. So you can see there's 3 sections. There's the header, there's the body, and then there is the footer. So with the header, what do I want this to say? I want this to have my name. I don't want it to have my phone number. I want it to have the email address. The email address is going to get pulled over from accountant settings, but you can change this to anything that you want, and you can say, this is, even though this isn't a real email address, I can say that this is P's and B's at gmail.com. If I wanted, I could put my address. Maybe I don't want my address. I just want the email, or maybe I just want the website. And so we'll just do, www.psandbs.com, right? So most of the stuff is getting pulled from accountant settings when you set all of that up when you first start your QBO account. So we can leave this here. We want this to be called an invoice. We want the estimate, so we can leave all of these the way that we want them. Oh, the other thing is that it's going to look the same for a credit memo. I forgot about that. You just can't create the credit memo. So I like the header. I think this looks good. This is what I need on there. Do I want it to say invoice? Yes, I do. I have that right there, invoice, and I've got the invoice number. And then we have some custom fields. So if I go, that didn't get saved. One of the things that you can do is you can add 3 custom fields in Essentials and Plus. In QuickBooks Online Advanced, you can have up to 15, I believe. It's either 12 or 15. So if I add this custom field, I want this to show up on all sales forms, and I want this to be called, maybe we'll say birthday, right? And do I want this to print on the form or not? I can choose yes or no. Or maybe we call this sales rep, right? And we say, who is the sales rep? And we do want this to print on the form, and say save. So now I've got my custom field. I need to go back to my custom form styles. And over here, I'm going to go in and edit. So it did save my stuff. I'm very happy that it did. So over here, I have my custom field now, and it's showing to print, and it's right there. Unfortunately, I can't really move any of this around. So there's no like really tweaking it and moving it. It's going to be where it is. If you don't like the format, you have to go back over here to design and change the template. So if we wanted that to show up in a little bit a different spot, and we wanted, invoice to show up differently, I'm going to keep it with this fresh, right? I'm going to do that. What is that? I don't know what that is. And then we go into content, and we don't need shipping. We're not shipping anything. So that is done. Now I'm going to go to my footer, right? So one of the things that I like about this is you can, if you're using estimates, and this is only going to show up if you have, if you're emailing it and if somebody is viewing this using the online invoice portal, but if you have an estimate, it'll show the estimate summary that's related to that invoice. If you're offering any discounts or deposits that have already been made, if you're using those features that are in QuickBooks Online, you can do that. And then you can say, hey, I want a message to show up on the invoices, and you can say, hey, pay me soon, right? And then any footer text. So the footer text might be, a logo, or not a logo, but it might be like a catchphrase. It could be legal terminology if you want to, and we can just put in whatever. And you can see as I'm typing this, it shows up at the very bottom. And then I can tell QuickBooks Online where I want. I want it left, center, right, and I can choose what size the font that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. That's a little aggressive, so we'll delete that. But you can see where that shows up. You can say like this shows up here, and you can also change this font as well. So there's two places where you can add some of that messaging. And then this is, you can have a different message for sales receipts and invoices than you do on estimates. You can put maybe here, please sign anywhere, please e-sign, whatever you want. You can email me your approval. Anything that you need to show up, you want to show up on those estimates will be here. And then anything on invoices, sales receipts, and credit memos will show here. And then we'll put footer text here. So this will show up when we go save it. So the last thing that I like to do is customize what actually is showing up in the, and I just had to customize this for a client the other day because she said, oh, this is the one that, the bakery. She's like, this isn't working and I need some stuff added. So one of the things that you can do here is if you have to add a date, you can add a date or not. If you want, you can show the product or service. So what this means is, like, for instance, if she is selling fern cakes or shortbread, whatever kind of shortbread. She's got Millionaire Shortbread, I know, is one of the ones, they're a Scottish bakery. And they've got Bakewell tarts as well. So they have really great stuff. I just want to comment on that. So she wants to show the item. She can say, yeah, I want to show what the item name is, and then she can choose to show the description or not choose to show the description. The other cool thing is if we don't want the item and just the description, this is how I have my own sales receipts and my own template set up, because I only have two items. I have speaking or presenting, and then I have services. And so the services is my monthly services that I'm doing with my clients. And then the speaking is anything that I'm doing, like say a training session like this, or for Intuit, or a one-on-one session with a client. I don't need the item to show up. I just want the description. And then I'm going to put in there one-on-one training session with this, with client name. And then I may want the date to show that these are the dates that we did that work. So you can customize these however you need to. And then if you're using categories, you can include categories. That's another way of keeping track of your products and services. If you need to track the quantity and rate, you can show those or not show those, or you can just put the amount. It's up to you. If you're using inventory, you can add that, but it's only on that airy template. The other thing that you can do is you can edit those labels and the width. So maybe we don't want that, but you can also set this up as well too. So you can put in the description the quantity and the rate within the description versus having separate columns for that. So one of the things that, like, why would you do it like this? One of the reasons is it's possible that the description can be pretty, it can be pretty long, like a long description. Like when I used to work with a lot of contractors, we would have pretty long descriptions about what we were doing, like demolition, when they were doing remods. And so we would want the description, but we wouldn't want the quantity and rate. We would just want the flat amount. And so that way we could go and we could edit those labels and widths. So we can choose to hide the labels and widths. We don't need to see that if we don't need to edit it and we want QBO to do the default. But we can also put in whatever we want here. We could make this say total instead of amount, or we can say price or amount owed, whatever is meaningful to your business, you can change that. I have very rarely had to change these because I think description amount, everybody knows what that is. Then we can also adjust, the rates here. So I maybe don't want, I want the item to be a little bit shorter or smaller. I want to maybe shrink that up a little bit so that I have a little bit more space for my description. So you can tweak these a little bit if you need to. The other thing that you have that I want to call out is this account summary. So this is kind of like a little mini statement that you can add to every invoice in QBO. So if you're a small business and you have customers or clients that you're working with, they have multiple invoices that carry over, you can basically include this little mini statement that says, okay, the beginning balance was $100. These new charges that you can see right underneath this section here, $665. So the new total on your account is $715. It still just means that the invoice is only going to be a specific amount. And when you're using the QuickBooks payments with the online invoicing, you still cannot pay a total amount. You can just pay the invoice, right? So you can't pay if you get sent a statement. You can't pay from a statement. You can only pay from invoices if you're doing that. So you can turn that off if you don't want that, and we can say show more activity. This is where things get really cool. So one of the things that I have a client who does a lot of, she's a government contractor and they do marketing for a bunch of different GSA departments. And so if they track all their time, and so they have to put in all of the time that they're working on these projects when they submit the invoices to the federal government. And so one of the things that we can do is we can say we want everything subdivided by day or by month or by type, right? And so you can also subtotal those groups. So you can see you can show markup if you want. If you have something that's marked as billable and you're marking it up, you can choose to show that markup. Whereas if I spent $50 on something and I've marked it as billable and then I include it on an invoice, I can choose to show the markup if you want. And then you can also choose to show billable time if you want here. So we can close that out. We're going to go ahead and group this maybe by day, and we'll include our dates here, right? So I'm going to show you how this works when we start using it. And then I can go ahead and take a look and preview it and see what it looks like, right? So that's great. There's our text, there's our footer text. Everything looks fantastic to me. So I'm going to go ahead and say done. But maybe because it's the holiday season and I celebrate Christmas, I want to create a new style. So I'm going to say, hey, I want to do an invoice. And the first thing I want to do is I want to change up the template and I want to make this bold, right? And maybe I'm going to say, let's start with gray right now because I'm not sure what I want to do. And I want to do logo edits. I can add a logo. So we're going to add that new logo that I created. All right, we're going to let it upload. Give it a minute to think. I'm going to click save. And so here's what I was talking about, how QuickBooks Online automatically changes the color scheme to match the logo. It matched that logo, all the bold stuff, the invoice, the date, the due date, all of that stuff matches that almost perfectly. But what we can do is we can say, you know what? I want to make this as obnoxious as possible, and I want it to look like the holiday just blew up all over this invoice. And so I'm going to change this. Maybe I want a little bit different font. Maybe we want to go a little fancy with some Times New Roman. And then I think we're going to, and I'm going to call this, Holidays 2023. If I go over to my content, all the same that we just talked about, I'm going to leave that. I want all of that left there. And then with emails, so the last section is emails. So this is, I do this a little bit differently depending on the client. So if a client is using QuickBooks Payments, I am going to do summarized details. And so you can see the difference here. So if I scroll down, so this over here on the right hand side, this is kind of a preview of what the recipient is going to get, what they'll see when they open the email. And so you can see as we scroll down, within the body of the email is all of the invoice details, and they are able to print or save that PDF if they need to. If a client is not using QuickBooks Payments, this is perfectly fine, and I will just leave full details. If a client is using QuickBooks Payments, the beauty of QuickBooks Payments is you send the invoice out, right? The recipient gets the email. They click through to the payment portal. They can make the payment right online using a credit card, debit card, checking account, whatever they want. And so I don't want to give the recipients all of the details within the email. I want it summarized. So you can see here, it's just showing it's $675. So if the recipient wants to see the details, they're going to have to, and we'll send this to ourselves. If the recipient gets this, they're going to have to click through to see the actual full details of the invoice. That's going to take them to that payment portal, that online invoice portal, where it's going to say, do you want to pay it now? My experience over the years since Intuit has introduced this is that when you're using QuickBooks Payments as a small business and you do it this way, there is a much greater chance that that invoice is going to get paid almost immediately. If they have to click through and they see that beautiful pay now button. So that's just my preference. So I also do not attach the PDF. So I don't attach the PDF. If they're using QuickBooks Payments, they have to click through to get to that invoice so that they can download the PDF. I know it probably seems it's kind of not great. It's a little manipulative, but that's okay because I want my clients to get paid. And then the other thing that we set up is the reminder. So we can also, when we want to send reminder emails like, hey, nudge, nudge, poke, poke, this invoice is, past due, could you please pay me? It's going to give you the details here, a default. I usually just leave this. But sometimes people may want to change this, but you can customize this as well. You can also customize the message that goes in the original email that gets sent out. So if we do the preview, we can see this is what this is going to look like when the recipient gets it. Looks very holiday cheer to me. I say done. So now we've got the two. So how do we use those, right? So let's tweak this just a little bit, shall we? Let's go over here. We don't want the date. And we don't want to group our activity. How about that? But there, we do want that. Okay, so I want them to look a little bit different. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to do new, and I'm going to do invoice. I'm just going to go to the, oh, and that's the other thing is Intuit is in the process of changing all of the invoice, what this looks like, what the screen looks like. So that you'll see that this is gonna be like the form that you see when you create invoices now. It's a different screen. So instead of doing the customize, you know how I told you to go down and customize, that's not the case. Like I think today happens to be the day they changed it. It's this week. This is instead of going all the way down to the bottom to do customize, you'll see that open up over here on the right hand side. It's kind of a little drawer that opens. If you don't see this, we can basically go to manage, and that is where we can go to our customization. And this is where we can customize. We don't have to open up that screen that we saw a minute ago. We can go here and we can customize this, right? So I can add a ship to, turn the ship to off. I can manage those custom fields. Payment options, I can choose if I'm using QuickBooks Payments. I can say, you know, like I can set that up. I can say what kind of payments I want to let them use. Here's what's really cool about this new payment method is it's not just, you know, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, they are allowing people to use PayPal. And the cool thing about the PayPal and the Venmo payments is the sender, from what I understand, and I could be wrong, but the last time I talked to Intuit about this, the sender that's sending the invoice does not need to have a PayPal or a Venmo account to get paid. The recipient needs the PayPal or the Venmo account. So just FYI with that. But you still need a QuickBooks Payments account in order to use any of it. So just FYI. I love QuickBooks Payments. We can also go in and edit that design. And so we can choose this. So we've got our standard, but if we go to our, why is it not changing? I just changed this. So maybe if we save it, oh, we've got to do a customer. And we'll do our service date. I wonder why this is a demo and it's new. So, you know, you never know. We'll do 10 Bs at $5 a piece or $50 a piece. So let's save. Wonder why it's not changing that. There. So apparently you can only see it until it gets saved and we preview it. So this is what it would look like, right? So we told QuickBooks Online that we're selling the item. We didn't put a header, so it's B's and the description, and then we included the quantity rate with the description and then the amount. We have our message that shows up here. We have our footer text, and this is what it's going to look like when the client gets this and sees it. So apparently, we're only going to see the template when we preview it. So then with the automation, this allows us to tell QuickBooks Online whether or not we want this to be a recurring invoice. We want this to happen every week, every month, whatever. And then the other thing that we can do is have QuickBooks Online automatically send those invoice reminders. I love this feature. This is a pretty new feature. And so what we can do is we can say, yes, I want invoice reminders on, and I want a reminder to go out on the due date, or maybe 3 days before the due date and 3 days after the due date. Say, hey, nudge, nudge, don't forget this is due within 3 days. And then if it's not marked as paid, you can have it sent out 3 days after. If you're receiving payments in against invoices manually, you're gonna need to remember to receive those in if you get them before the due date, before this one after this gets set up. So that's kind of a, you know, make sure you know your workflow, because if you get the payment, you know, 2 days before the due date, but you're not receiving it into QuickBooks until a week later, you may upset a client or a customer by sending a reminder and they're going to say, yo, I did send a payment. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to say review and send. And I'm going to send that invoice. And I can choose if I want a Gmail address, and I can choose to connect my Google. So I'm going to say yes. And so what I'm doing with this is I'm telling QuickBooks whether or not I want the return address, the from address, to be my email address or the generic QuickBooks notification. And I want it to show my own, right? So, and you can see I can change that anytime I want. We're going to send it to ourselves. So we're going to send it to that QBOA realm test at gmail.com. And I'm not going to change any of this. I could choose to change this if I wanted to. And then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to send the invoice, right? And I'm going to leave without saving. So we've sent that invoice. Let's take a look at what that looks like when we get it. And there it is. So this is what it looks like from the recipient, right? We go in, I chose not to have the PDF attached to it. There are no details. If I were using QuickBooks Payments, this is exactly how I would want this to look, because I want the recipient to say, well, what is the $500 for? And then they're going to have to click through, and you can say, hey, no, I'm going to say no thanks. And so if I were able, this would, if I had QuickBooks Payments set up, this would be like, hey, pay now right there. And because they don't have that set up, I want to go here and I can view the invoice. I can choose to download it or I can print it. And so we can see that PDF. So this is really like why I absolutely positively love the QuickBooks Payments and being able to do that. To be able to not send the PDF or the details. So let's go back and create another one. We'll do a sales receipt this time. So we'll do a sales receipt over here. And with this one, we're going to do me. And now, because this is the old template, so when it comes down to the sales receipt, we still need to do that customize, right? So I want to use my standard. For whatever reason, it is not letting me choose my holidays one. I can only do that in the invoice. So I have to use standard. Let's see why. Let's close this out and go in here to my holidays. And I wonder why. Oh, you know why? Because I made it an invoice. Silly, silly me. Instead of a sales receipt. Let me exit without saving. So I'm trying to drop this down, and I can say new style. Now I have to go sales receipt. That is why, right? So I'm going to say sales receipt, holidays. See, sometimes I think I know all sorts of stuff, and I really don't know that much, right? So I'm going to change my logo. We're going to change all of this a little bit. There we go. I'm going to leave this now. Yep, that's what I want. So now I have this and I can say done. So now I've got sales receipt. So I'm going to go over here to my sales receipt and I'm going to choose this. And now I'm going to go customize. That's why. I sometimes forget how this stuff works. And I'm going to choose my service date today. And we're going to sell a Bronco, I guess. Well, I don't know if that means a horse or a car. I don't really know. Being from Michigan, I'm assuming it's a car. You guys are from Texas, so I would assume that you guys would think it's probably a horse, right? Just kidding. All right. So
Bronco is a horse.
I
Yes.
know. Well, that's what I'm saying. It depends the context, right? I live in Metro Detroit, so I'm like, oh, I'm selling a Bronco. That's kind of expensive for somebody that sells bees and peas. But if I were in Texas, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. I need my horse to round up all those bees. I'm just kidding. All right. And so with this, I would choose to save and send. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to say, hey, QBO realm test, and I'll show you what this looks like. realmtest@gmail.com. Oh my gosh, I can't type today at all. It's not even Friday. Save and send. Again, you can edit, you can preview. I'm going to go ahead, send and close. Go back over to my email. There is the sales receipt. Sales receipts look a little bit different because that's all that you see when you get the sales receipt emailed to you, right? So a little bit different the way those two things work. So if we go in and we edit this and we go to emails, we definitely want to make sure that we have that PDF attached. And I wanted to make sure that you guys saw that difference because this is a very lackluster experience, right? So we want to make sure that we're not sending the PDF if we're using QuickBooks Payments with the invoice, but with sales receipts, we want to make sure that we always are attaching that PDF so that not only do they get this stark clinical summary here within the body of the email, but they also get that gorgeous, beautiful, customized document attached to it. And that's it. I mean, that's all we got. You guys got any questions?
I have a question about customizing the invoice numbers.
Okay.
How do you do that? Because maybe you get a client in midstream and they've already got an invoice number list going and they want to just pick up from the next invoice number.
Yeah, so one of those things that you can do here is if we look at the invoices, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have this, and let me get all this over here. We have this set up. So you can set up, and so if you need to edit this, you just click in and you change it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can change it to whatever, but you have to change it in the settings, right? So you have to turn that on. So if we go into our account and settings, and if we go into advanced, we have here, is it here? No, it's in sales. They move stuff on me all the time. If we go into account and settings and gear account and settings, and we go into our sales tab and then sales form content, this custom transaction numbers, we just need to toggle that on. And so, like you said, Paula, if we have somebody that comes and they've already got this established and they're already on like invoice 3,421, right? Or, 2,200, we can turn this on, create our first invoice, custom enter the number, and then turn this off. And then QuickBooks will automatically increment it by 1. So you don't have to keep this on, right? So if I turn this off, if we look at, let's copy this. So like this was our sales receipt, right? And we were changing the sales receipt number. Let's close this. Right, so if we go in here and we just look at whatever invoice we just created, and I want to go this one right here. So this is invoice number whatever, blah, 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 4. Maybe I go in and I change this to 5 right now, right? I customize it. I'm going to save it, right? So it's saved. Now I go back over. And so what I did there is I just duplicated my tab. To back up a little bit, I just right clicked here and clicked duplicate. It opened up a new page on the same page so I could navigate anywhere I needed to so that I could come back to this window and turn this off and then save. And now if I go back to my invoice and I say I want to save a new, it's going to automatically, when we create a new one, it's going to automatically say that it's generated. It's automatically going to give us, oh, and it of course made a liar out of me. Apparently
Well, it said generated and then it popped up with the
yeah,
invoice
and I
number,
just
yeah.
wonder it's because I didn't refresh the page after I saved that setting. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to go to invoice. Nope, apparently it's not. This might be something a little bit glitchy, but normally if you turn that off, it's not going to let you update this. So this may be either because this is our demo account, or this could be because something with the new invoice template that they have set up.
Mhm.
But normally if you would turn that off, that custom transaction number off, you wouldn't be able to edit that. But
Okay,
that's how you would do it.
so you would go to the custom click the toggle switch and change it and then turn the toggle off. And
Yes.
then the system will do it all by itself.
It will automatically do it by itself,
Mhm.
even if you don't turn it off. So even if I have custom transaction numbers turned on and
Mhm.
I put in 1, 2, 3, 4, into it, the QBO will automatically increment it by 1 every time, automatically. So you don't have to turn it off, but if you want people to not be able to do those custom transactions or edit the
Mhm.
invoice number, you could go toggle it off. But the QBO will automatically increment it by 1 every time.
Okay.
And this is one of the things that I do, especially for new businesses. Nobody wants invoice number 1 or 1001. So I tell them pick a number and then we can go from there. And then QuickBooks will just automatically keep numbering them and you don't have to remember it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Do we have any questions?
Hi, Stacy. It's Roger. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. You know, this has been a great presentation because it just really shows people what they can do with, their invoices and everything. I think it's great.
Yeah.
My question is maybe a little bit more general in nature. When you have QBO, can you assign roles to certain users or people when they sign in? So perhaps somebody's creating the invoice for you or doing your bookkeeping, but you don't necessarily want them to have access to the banking or the profit and loss statements and all that kind of stuff.
It really depends on what version of QuickBooks Online that you have. So if you're using Simple Start, you can't add any other users because Simple Start only gives you 1 user, which is your primary admin. It does allow you to add 2 accountant users. With Essentials and Plus, you're allowed to have, Essentials gives you 3 users, so your primary admin and 2 additional users. QuickBooks Online Plus gives you 5 users, so that would be your primary admin and then your 4 other custom users. And then QuickBooks Online Advanced gives you 25 users. So with Essentials and Plus, and this I believe is an Essentials account, when we add the user, there's not a lot that we can do. We can give them standard all access, which means they kind of have access to everything, or like you were saying, we can give them limited access to customers only. And so when you choose each one of these roles, you can see what they have, what is available. So they have full access here. They can view, they can create, they can edit, they can delete any of these transactions. When we're talking about products and services, they also have full access to view, edit, and any of the items that are selling. With lists, they can't see certain things, so they're not going to be able to see employees or vendors. They won't be able to see any of that, but they will be able to see any customers or if they have multiple currency. And then with reporting, you can see exactly what they will have access to. All of any sales reports they'll have access to, but they won't have access to any expense, payroll, or management reports. So you can, to a certain extent, with Essentials and Plus, it is a very broad brush that the roles and the permissions is assigned. But with Advanced, QuickBooks Online Advanced, you can really pinpoint some of those, a lot more of those permissions. So
Okay.
yes, but limited with Essentials and Plus.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Well, I have a comment.
Okay.
Had I known about this when I was using QuickBooks,
Mhm.
my invoices, sales receipt, all of that would have looked amazing. I really would have played with this a lot.
And you can see like I can get down a little bit of a rabbit hole. Like you can get down a little rabbit hole. And with desktop, oh my gosh, desktop, I mean, you can really tweak it. So I spent many, many, many hours when I had most of my clients on desktop, making sure every column like divider lined up with the boxes above it. And it was like all stuff I could not bill my clients for, but my tiny little, you know, bookkeeping, everything lined up perfectly brain had to make sure that they were, and you could really customize it. Like you could drag and drop where those boxes and where all the fields were in desktop. And honestly, when I first started using QuickBooks Online, like what, a million years ago, I was like, oh, I really wish I could customize this more. But now I'm really glad that I can't, because the rabbit hole is not quite as deep to fall down. There's only so much I can do, and I still spend a lot of time customizing it. So you can get really fun with them.
Well, I don't see any other questions. So thank you so much. This
Thank
was
you.
fun. This was
And I got-
really fun.
I mean, I can talk about QuickBooks all day, so thank you guys. All right. So I will stop sharing and give it back to you.
All right. Well, this is our last webinar of 2023, and just want to thank everyone for joining us throughout our webinar project that we had going. Want to remind everyone that you can use the QR code at the top. That'll take you right to our SBDC website, where you can register for upcoming webinars. You can get our contact information, schedule an appointment with an advisor, and there are also some other resources that you can find there. The other QR code will take you straight to our YouTube channel, where this webinar will be posted shortly after we're finished here. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. All of this from the North Central Texas SBDC.
Thanks, you guys.
And I wanted to share, again, mention that we are grant funded. And because of that, I want to give a shout out to the Small Business Administration, the state of Texas, North Texas SBDC Regional Office, and North Central Texas College. Again, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2024.
Bye, you guys.
Bye-bye.